Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. We've had a lot of accidents lately, and one of the things we're seeing on social media again and again and again is this pilot was hurt. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough insurance or the right kind of insurance, which is totally understandable. It's a very nuanced space, and they keep moving the bar on us. And it can be very tricky to get the right thing, and it really depends on where you're from. Depends a little bit on where you're going, but if you go to my website and just put in the search term insurance, there's a blog article. I have really researched this. I've worked with IMG Signature and Global Rescue on this very thing. There are other options. From what I can tell, they're all pretty similar. This one I know works. You can get the combination of the two in just a few minutes for just your trip or for the year. It costs less than $1 a day for Global Rescue. But there's a lot of confusion with what do I need? And there's a very common theme is, it's A, too much money, or B, this isn't going to happen to me. We got to get over this. It happens to the best of the best, and it happens to everybody else in between. If you are in a different country and you pound in hard and you need this, it's going to fall on your family or your community to get you home if you don't have it. And that's just totally irresponsible. You can't do it. You've got to get this stuff, and you're going paragliding on the other side of the world, especially if you're going to remote places. If you're going to India, if you're going to Pakistan, if you're going to China, there's a lot of places you can go where you're going to need a heli evac, and those are expensive no matter where you are in what country. So two things, and you can find the link to this. It takes you to the place where you can get them both right from my website, cloudbasedmayhem.com. Go to the insurance, read the article, follow the links. Please, please, please get this. We don't want to be spouting about this on social media. It's not good for the sport. And we also don't want to be putting our families in these terrible situations that are already really stressful enough. So briefly, the difference between the two, travel insurance / medical insurance is medical, it covers lost bags and flight delays and all that kind of stuff, stolen stuff and that kind of thing. But it also covers medical if you need a medical procedure where you get hurt. So, you're down in Colombia, you snap an ankle, you got to go get surgery, you got to get it before you get home for whatever reason. That's going to cover that. Those usually have a cap. Different ones are different. The IMG Signature is $100,000. You can burn that up pretty quickly, obviously, but if you have the other one and you're not totally unstable, you can get home for a surgery. The other one is the one that to me is in some ways even more important, and that's Global Rescue. This works in any country. It's $329 for an entire year, but you can also get it for just your trip, so it's very cheap. That will get you home back to your hospital where you live, which is nice for your family and your community to help you through your recovery, of course. So you want to be able to get home. That's where if you've got something real unstable, or if you need a bad surgery and you got to be transported by private charter or helicopter or something, the dollars go, you're in the six figures in no time. So that Global Rescue has a $500,000 cap. That's going to cover almost everything. It's going to cover search and rescue. You can even link your inReach. You can't do this with Spot because you need two-way communication with Global Rescue. So you can call, you can activate Global Rescue with a cell phone or satellite phone, but you can also activate it with your inReach because you've got two-way with your inReach. So when you're more than 100 miles from home, you can set that up with your inReach and just activate Global Rescue with your inReach. So pretty handy there. Again, this is all on the website. This is in the thing. Please don't be that person that doesn't get this. If you're traveling to go paragliding, this can happen. It happens all the time. It happens to every level of pilot. I see it over and over and over again, and it's super tragic if you don't have the coverage. The coverage is it's very cheap insurance. So please get it. If you have any questions, reach out to me via the website, and I'll send you more information, but it's on the website. Thanks. I was contacted recently, right after the X-Alps, by a pilot in Switzerland who really recommended I sit down with Laurent Borella, who runs the Vercofly. They just did their 11th one in August. Kriegel, of course, won again. And amazing race that the Eiger Tour that Michael Vici, who I raced with in 2015, modeled his race after. So this is a hike and fly race that you stay in the huts at night. Yeah, this one, the Vercofly, is takes place in the Rhone. and up and down the Rhone. It's an awesome race. If you haven't seen the videos for this, check out the show notes for this episode and watch those videos. There's one by Kriegel that's just awesome. That really shows why he's so good at what he does. And there's also a general one from, they had drones and they had they did a really good job filming this edition of the race. So go check that out. They had really good weather, high base, a lot of flights. So yeah, this race is judged on the number of huts you get to. There's 8, and you could do it any way you want. There's no set course, and it's also judged by you're supposed to get 3 flights a day, and that's kind of judged on X contest distance. So of course you get a better score for an out and back or an FAI. Awesome concept. There's no supporters, so it's kind of like the no bull X Alps. Really dig this. I really, really, really want to do this race. I've been watching it for years. Kriegel did it on a tandem for many years, and then he decided, no, I need to win this. So of course he's won the last couple, I believe. But anyway, this is a great episode with a really passionate pilot who has just kind of devoted his life to flying. And in Switzerland, he's an instructor. He has some great advice for newer pilots, both just in general and also those that are kind of thinking about getting into this whole hike and fly game. So yeah, a lot here, some fun stuff, and a great race that I encourage you to check out. So please enjoy this talk with Laurent Borella. Laurent, it's so wonderful to have you on the Cloud-Based Mayhem. I was thrilled to get this email from a friend of yours just recently recommending to get you on the show because I've been watching the Vercofly, and of course Kriegel, the master, who I've raced with now 3 times, and I see him at the beginning of the race, and then I never see him again. And it sounded like it was kind of the same at the Vercofly. So I can't wait to talk to you about your race and what was the kind of catalyst for making that happen. And I'd love to come over and actually compete in it maybe one of these days. So I'm excited to hear about that. But I thought before we get into the Vercofly and in your race and your how you put that together, just by talking a little bit and introducing the audience to you and your history and how you got into all this. Before we started recording, you were telling me that your wife has been very kind to let you kind of let paragliding take over your life. So how does paragliding fit into who you are and what you do?
Hey, paragliding. I started paragliding in 2001. I was living in Geneva at that time, and just looking at the Salève, that the mountain just behind Geneva, and looking at the paragliders flying down. At that time, I was more into let's say mountaineering, not high mountain, but walking in the mountain, and it really pissed me off to walk down. And the idea was to fly down. And I had a look at the school, a paragliding school in Geneva, but then I found a flyer in a bar in Nanda, in Valais, where I come from. I come from a valley in the Swiss Alps. And the flyer was saying, okay, you can start flying quite rapidly, easily. And I called the guy, and this guy convinced me to start. And I started to fly nearly simultaneously with my first child coming.
Wow.
So it started to be really like a drug. I've been addicted quite rapidly. And I was living in Geneva, and at a certain time I had to choose if I wanted to stay in Geneva or maybe go to the States. That was an idea at that time. I had a job that I could move to the States. But as my first child was coming, I said, no, okay, I stay in Geneva. And I found a job in Valais, actually, where I come from. And that's brought me closer to paragliding sites, and I even choose to live in Vercorin, which is a small village in the mountain where I can fly down to my job. So paraglide had a big impact on my life.
When you kind of discovered paragliding in 2001, and you had your child coming for that, your first child, was the risk of paragliding something you really knew about already? I mean, did you know that this was something that could you could have an accident or something worse. Did that play into the conversation with your wife, or did that play into how you approached flying?
Oh, I for sure, I knew that there is a risk doing paragliding. If you are in the air, there is a risk. I knew that, but I was, let's say, used to those risks because I was doing also motorbike and other stuff like that. And I think for me, risk is part of the life. You have to minimize it, but for me, honestly, it's more dangerous to drive a car and drink and smoke, and the risk is less direct, but there is a risk also, and I prefer the kind of risk linked to paraglide and these other risks that are less clear. I don't know if I'm clear.
You said it perfectly. Your kids then are, I guess the first one's 18 or so. Do your children fly? Do you have more than one? How many kids?
I have two. I have my son is 19 and my daughter is 16. Will be 16. The boy started to fly quite early, and he made like 60 flights by himself. But he was 15 or something like that, 16 years old, and then he stopped. He has other priority in his life than paragliding. Paragliding in where I live is for the fathers and mothers.
I know we've got to fix that about this sport.
Too many people are flying, and the children are thinking that it's mandatory for them to fly, which is not the case.
Right. Of course, yeah. This is a problem in the sport.
It's my passion, not their passion.
Yeah, we're not attracting enough youth to the sport either. You know, when you go to a comp or something, it's guys like us. It's not the young kids anymore. So tell me now, where do you live in Wallis now, or where do you live now?
Yeah, I live in Wallis, in Vercorin, a small ski resort in the middle of Wallis, between Sion and above Sierre. I don't know if you can see where it is, not far from Montana, Zermatt, really in the middle of the Alps.
Yeah, so just on the north side from Verbier, right?
I would say on the east side of Verbier. Yeah. Same side of the valley. On the left side of the valley, but a little bit toward the German part of Wallis.
Yeah. Okay. And so, tell me, let's get into the Vercofly. So that's why it's called Vercofly, because that's the village you live in, I guess. So does it model a bit? And I'm sorry, I did a little bit of research on this, but I didn't find too much in English. So, and of course, because I'm American, that's all I speak, right? So, but it seems like it's modeled similarly to the Eiger Tour, to Michael Vicci's, correct? It goes around the huts, yeah.
Exactly. But if you want to be fair with Vercofly, Michael Vicci came to the Vercofly and asked me if he could do the same.
Right. Yes, it's
the opposite, in fact.
Right. You started it. Yeah. I mean, it's just brilliant. So the turn points are the huts.
Exactly, and there is a reason behind that. Everybody knows the Red Bull X-Alp, of course. Started in 2003 for the first edition. And it was nearly the only I Can Fly race that people knew at that time. Do you mind if I make a little bit history for the Vercofly?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's okay?
More the better, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. In 2009, I participated in my first I Can Fly race. It was in south of France. The race was called, still exists, Transdromoise. It's
the Dormeuse. Yeah, okay.
Wow. I don't know if you heard about this race.
Of course, yeah.
It was created by Delphine P at that time, and it was a nice concept where you had to or to walk or to fly, but the idea was to fly as much as possible, and that would give you more points than walking. So it was a lot of strategy. You had to stop when it was not flying and move only when it was flying, and you had to reach different. You had a starting point and a finishing point, and you had to reach this finishing point, not the first, but having flying the more on the way. That was the Transdomoise, and it was in May 2009, and I really enjoyed this race. It was really new for me because I was just making cross country and never really thought about I can fly race except X-Alp, looking at the X-Alp. And I say, that's very nice. I have to do something similar in my region, but I don't want to have an assistant, someone that has to come and follow you and give you the food and the tent and everything. That for me it's I don't like that. I prefer to do alone and don't bother someone else just to follow me. And so I thought about it, and I realized that around the place where I live, there are many huts, and we can rely on those huts for the food, for the night, and also for the security. So the huts, and if you have huts, you don't need assistant. So I say, okay, I have to make a race using the huts that are in my region. And that was the beginning of this race, the race, Vercofly, which is a race toward the huts.
And do you set the course? Because I kind of watched the Eiger tour this year because I had just finished the X Alps and I was pretty tired. My feet were pretty trash, but I really had wanted to go do it. And but then my feet weren't in good enough condition, so I couldn't go do it. But I watched it a bit, and it seems like they make the course the morning of the race, depending on the weather. Is that how you do it?
No. That's the second point in Vercofly. I wanted a race that is possible even if the weather is not good.
Okay.
So it's a race that you can do by walking or flying. And the concept changed a lot during the time, from the first edition to the 11th edition this year. We had 11th Vercofly already. But the difference between Eiger Tour and Vercofly is Eiger Tour, you have if you want, you have to follow a track, Hut 1, Hut 2, Hut 3, and so on, and you have to go in an order. For the Vercofly, you have 8 huts, and you can catch them when you want, depending on where you are or what is your strategy. So you don't have to follow a path. That really gives a lot of fun for the participant, but it's very complicated for the person looking at the race because they don't understand what the guys are doing. But the hut,
it's hard for the fans, but it's brilliant for the athletes.
Exactly. For the fans, it's a nightmare. You don't understand what is going on.
Yeah, because who's winning?
In every direction, everybody differently. But for the participant, it's quite nice. And the idea is to make the ranking. First, you have to do all the huts. So if you did 8 huts, you will always win someone who did 7 or 6 huts. So first,
even if they do it faster, but if you get exactly. So it's the number of huts. Okay, got
faster is not interesting. You have to do all the huts. But what will make the difference is not the huts, because most of the good pilot will do all the 8 huts. What will make the difference is how many kilometers you have declared during the 4 days. You have to declare your flight on X contest, and every day we take for each pilot the 3 longest flights, and we sum the points. And at the end, it's a number of kilometers that has been flown during the 4 days that will make the difference.
Okay.
Basically, so it's based. You have to make the 8 huts. We rely on the huts for the security, for the food and everything, but then you have to fly as much and as far as you can. For example, this year, Patrick von Kennel, Pedal, flew until Andermatt, which is 100 kilometers away from the Vercoflies, just to make a long flight, because the weather conditions were so nice that he has been able to fly long way out and back to the huts.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's that combination of number of huts and distance in the air. So, what do you mean by you have to declare your distance before? So he had to.
Not before. After, at the end of the day, you just upload your track on X contest.
Okay,
and it will give you the point, and we collect the point to make the ranking.
Okay. And do you get
So
extra points
it's very important for the pilot to think where they are at what time to make the best flight possible. Because as you know, an FIE triangle will give you more points than a straight line. So you have to think what kind of flight you will do during the day. But this is a job of each pilot to be in the better position for a nice FAI triangle to declare more kilometers, more points.
So one of the things I didn't really understand about the Eiger tour, so it would be the same for yours. That time of year, the huts are really busy. How do you do you just block off a number of rooms at all 8 huts for the course of the race?
We do that at the end of August, normally between 15 and 30 of August 30th. And normally it's okay because we do the race. The pilot will sleep in the huts on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. So at that time of the year, it's okay. And then we book. We have a collaboration with all those huts, and we booked some places for our pilots. So we know that even if all pilots will reach the same hut the same day, they should find a bed. But normally you have 50 pilots, and they will spread in all the field. So you have some huts that are more interesting in terms of positioning for the next day for flying. So you will get maybe 20-25 pilots in one hut, but not more.
So I have a lot of listeners that are inspired by races like yours and Born to Fly, and of course the X Alps, because it gets all the media attention and everything. And they say, how do I get into hike and fly? How do I get into bivy? What would be your recommendation for lower hour pilots who want to participate maybe someday in the Vercofly?
To participate in the Vercofly, you have 2 categories. One is like we say competition category, and for that you have some criteria to be accepted, and they are quite high. Those criteria: you have to be a mountain guide or a paragliding instructor, or having participated to like an X Alp, or finished in the let's say it's maximum in 10th position of a recognized hike and fly race. So we put the bar quite high, the level to enter in competition mode. And this is because of the responsibility that the organizer have when they do this kind of race. You have to be able to prove that your participants are specialists in their domain in case of accidents. So if they are specialists, you are not responsible if there are an accident. It's bad, but it's like that. You need a high-level pilots to not to be responsible. And you have the other category, which is we call it adventure, but there is no ranking in that category. And we collect the point and everything, but there is no ranking, and less pressure on the competitors. And that's also a question of responsibility, because in Switzerland, if you organize this kind of race, what make a race to be considered as dangerous, it's if you have a ranking and some rules that put your participant under pressure. So if you have no ranking, you are less responsible in case of accident. So it's a bit strange, but when you organize that, you really have to think if you're responsible or not in case of accident, because when you have 50% in the mountain like that, it's a nightmare. And really put a lot of pressure on the back of the organizer in case of accident. We have to reduce that to the minimum possible. So having no ranking removes some pressure, because you don't care if you are in front of this guy or not, and you will not take stupid decisions just to win one position. You understand? And the pro like Paddle or Kriegel or those guys, they know what they do in case of they are responsible. And
Mm. And you said it's 11th edition, so you do it every year.
Yeah.
And is this something you just do because you're so passionate about it, or is it something? Are you able to make some money doing it, or do you have enough sponsors that kind of fund it, or is it something you can?
No. Really, it's because of it's a passion.
Yeah.
Honestly, we don't do money with Vercofly. We lose a little bit of money every year, but the idea is it's more communication process. Yeah, we use Vercofly to also for newspaper and even TV that they speak about us. They speak about Vercorin, about Twister. It's a marketing event for us. We have sponsors that help us, but no sponsor that give us money. So we have to ask the participant to pay what they cost, basically. And it's quite expensive because we have 3 nights in huts. We have 1 night in Vercorin. We have all the dinner, all the breakfast. We have the security tracking system and everything. So the registering fee is quite high for the pilots. It's for 425 Swiss francs. That make a little bit less than $400, something like that. It's quite expensive.
That covers your nights in the hut too?
Yeah, to everything. So the pilots that come and pay that will pay nothing else. It's all included. I mean, he will pay if you want to drink something,
of course,
alcohol, or just for midday for the lunch at midday. He will have to buy some food in the huts, but we provide everything from the night, the food in the evening, the breakfast, everything.
And there's 50 participants. That's the max. That's what you cap it at.
The first edition we were 18, and this year we were 50. We have been up to 60. 50 is a good number.
And how many are in competition versus adventure?
Half.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's such a cool concept. It's fantastic. The film, I believe it's mostly Kriegel's footage. The film on your website is not?
No. It's a big mix. Kriegel is made. I think you have seen the one that last 15 minutes, something like that.
Yeah,
the long one. That's the film that we do during the race, and we show to the pilot at the pilot dinner last day. So it's really a film that is done quickly during the race. But if you look, Kriegel is only maybe 5 minutes on the film. We took pictures from and movie from everyone. We are 2 guys with camera, with drone, and we make pictures from everyone.
It's just brilliant. It's beautiful. It's really a really, really nice film. And I mean, some of the top landings are, you're like, oh, that's got to be Kriegel. They're just
there is maybe you are talking about the movie that Kriegel did.
Well, I saw one that I thought it was like 5 minutes, but it's
that's Kriegel one. That's Kriegel,
okay.
Only Kriegel one. You should see the other one.
Okay.
Kriegel took a camera on his helmet, and he filmed every, I think, landing.
Yeah, it was. There's
5 minutes with Kriegel. You should see the other one from the Vercofly. It's more every person, and we have like drones, and we have very nice pictures. It's quite long because it's made for the pilot at the end of the race.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Yeah, no, I didn't see that one then. I saw Kriegel's.
Okay, so you saw the one from Kriegel, which is really impressive because Kriegel, as you know, is using this kind of landing. I don't know in English how do you say it, just straight on the slope.
Yeah, we call it fly on the wall, like the hang gliders used to do.
Which we use a lot more than before because Kriegel is giving we can see him doing it, so we want to try, but you don't have to land every time like that. Kriegel is really pushing very hard on his landing.
He's I mean, you watch that and you go, yeah, okay, that's why he wins the X Alps every year.
You don't have to do that at the Vercofly every time. The reason he's doing that is because he wants to declare 3 flights a day. So if sometimes you have to end a flight before to start the second one. For example, if you make a triangle and once you have done the triangle, you have to land to declare this triangle. If you go for another flight and you don't land before, it will make only one flight and you will lose point. You understand?
I understand. Yeah. So that's why in his film
he has to land at the best place, and the best place is most often the highest place on the flight. So he land at 3,000 on the slope like that. Switch on, switch off the GPS and start again.
Right. That makes sense then, because in quite a bit of the footage, he obviously was taking off from exactly where he had just landed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's the reason.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me, kind of back to the question about, skill building, and, a lot of the listeners, tune into this podcast because they're trying to become, better pilots. But for the, kind of the ENB, maybe ENC pilots that are, kind of pushing into cross country and they're starting to do their first, 20, 50, 75K flights and that kind of thing. Well, how would you, because you've had this long history in flying and you did your first race down in the Dormeuse with Hike and Fly, what would you recommend for them to really start learning and skill building to be able to come participate at the adventure level in your race? What are the kind of minimum skills that a pilot would need to, because really, Hike and Fly, you don't have to top land like Kriegel's doing. You could land down in the bottom of the, there's ways to make it much safer, but it's still, bivy and Hike and Fly is kind of at the extreme end of our sport, really, in terms of, it's certainly racing.
If you participate to the adventure category, you can do it with, like you said, NB skills. You don't have to be a top pilot, but what is really important is that you have to know what is your level, and not trying to do what the other are doing. And this is not a skill that you can learn. It's really linked to how you are as a pilot. If you can take it softly, not giving too much, and that is difficult in a race, is not going above your limit. But to participate in the Vercofly, if you choose a nice takeoff, because you will find nice takeoff everywhere, but you will have to walk a little bit more maybe. If you choose to land down in the valley, you will find fields and nice landing spot. So you can do it safely, even with limited skills. But what is difficult is to say, okay, I will land down and I will have to walk up 500 meters more than if I land in the middle of the mountain. And I don't know how to explain it, but what is important is to be realistic for what you can do and not try to push too much just to save some 1 or 2 hours walk. And this is something it's not a skill. It's how you are, and if
approach.
You can be quiet. It's an approach of the paragliding, which is not only okay for Hike and Fly, but every time you fly, to be able to assess correctly the weather and what you can do or not. And the Vercofly and all the Hike and Fly race can be dangerous because it's a competition and you see other pilots doing stuff and you want to try. Okay, if he can do that, why not me? And that's what is difficult. But in Hike and Fly, I would say we do that end of August. If you want to participate, it's what you have to be able is to take off, of course, with front wing, like I don't know in English.
Sure. Yeah, forward launch. Yeah.
Yeah, forward, both sides. It's important, both sides. Also with the wind on your back, because some places it's really better with no wind, because we don't have a lot of wind in the mountain. Actually, it's the opposite. We have sometimes backward wind, and it's very important to be able to take off with the glider behind you safely. And I see a lot of pilots that are not able to do that anymore because they don't train it. We train more the takeoff looking at the wind, at the wing. So that's just something that is going in my mind. It's not. I have seen some strange stuff with pilots trying to take off with the wind, with a wing, with no wind, and it was not good. So that's one thing. Of course, be able to land in very small places. So try your accuracy when you land. That's also really helpful for this kind of race. And for the rest, I like cross country, but I don't know what to say about that. Be able to assess correctly the weather, to be able to imagine where the wind valley are, like when you are doing cross country. So I would not come to the Vercofly if I'm not able to make let's say a 50K in the Alps.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of the basic requirement there.
And I would not start with the Vercofly. You have other races that are not in the high mountain to start, because it's always easier to land in the field than in the mountain.
And are you using huts then on both sides of the Rhone? I mean, what's kind of your playing field that you're working with there?
Okay, so we have 8 huts that has been chosen 11 years ago in a very strange way. I took a map and I look at Vercorin and I looked south where the mountains are, and I say I want to design a V on the map with the huts. And that's how it started. So the huts, if you link them, make basically a V from Vercorin. You have some huts on the southeast and some huts on the southwest, and it make a big V on the mountains. And that's how we have chosen the huts at the beginning. And the first edition, I knew personally only 3 huts on the 8. I never been to the other one, so I discovered the other huts with the first participant. That was the first edition. Now it has changed a little bit, and we always we are keeping those 8 huts as the permanent hut, but we add other which are bonuses outside of the field of the Vercofly. But those huts are not counted as one of the 8 huts. They are counted as points, like for the declared flights. So you can make points by flying a long way, but you add also points by collecting bonuses outside of the field of the Vercofly.
Ah, cool. Okay, so there's other turn points, if you will, or other huts that you get a bonus for.
Yeah, turn points, or we call them bonuses, because Vercofly has changed a lot during this 11th year. At the beginning, we had a lot of funny bonuses. You had to stop in an hotel to eat a tart. How do you say?
The tart, yeah.
Yeah, a cake.
Yeah.
You had to swim in a mountain lake. You had to kiss a girl in the mountain which was owning a hut. Stuff like that, and you had to make a picture and send a picture. And we had a lot of bonuses like that, and it was really participating to the fun of the race, and people were coming for that also. After a few years, we started to be more toward competition, and we removed some of these bonuses. next year we might come again with some bonuses, because I talk with Kriegel, Pedal, and other top pilots, and they say you should not go too far in competition. Come a little bit back to a more funny race, because it's what we like. And we come to the Vercofly because of where we can fly. It's beautiful, but also because we meet other pilots every night in the huts, and it's what makes this race special. You are never alone. You meet other pilots. You spend time with them. Everybody explains the flight of the day and so on. And it's really what we want to keep. And we don't want to come to a race, a pure race.
Yeah. Are you able to still participate yourself, or is it just too much for you to do?
This year I did not participate. I was on the race, flying every day with the other, but more making movies. But normally I try to participate. Yeah, I participated to, I think, 7 Vercofly.
Wicked. And so, because there's the huts, what are the athletes carrying? You wouldn't need much, would you? Because you're having dinner at the hut, you're having breakfast at the hut. That's all provided by the hut, and then you maybe have a couple little snacks that you can buy at the. I mean, like when you start the race, what are people starting with?
So when I start this race, what I take is my glider harness, of my helmet and so on. You have a tracker that you have to take with you. You have some battery, spare battery to
your phone,
to load the tracker and your phone, because you need your phone with you all the time. And then I have really nothing. I have some dry T-shirt that I exchange when I stop walking, and that's it. Nothing, really nothing. A jacket, and of course, but I have less than 11 kilo.
Wow. So you've got a little bit of water. I mean, that's the nice thing about the Alps is you've got, there's water everywhere.
Everywhere. So everywhere. It's not you take the water in the small rivers.
Yeah. So
brilliant. No, I carry nothing. I have like 4 energetical stuff to eat in case I need, in case I landed far from a village or far from a hut, but just in case of emergency, I would say.
You mentioned that maybe when you start to get into hike and fly, and you're starting to think about this, that maybe Vercofly is not the best one to start with. What are some recommendations? Because there's a lot these days. Yeah.
So for the Swiss spot, I would start with races like called Jura Hike and Fly. It's in the beginning of spring. It's in the Jura mountain are more soft, I would say. It's green. It's If the weather is not good, it's difficult to fly because the mountains are not high enough. But it's a very nice place to start. You have also Gruyère Fly, which is in Fribourg. It's not far from where I live from, but it's also a race that is a little bit softer than the Vercofly.
Say that again. Gruyère, like the cheese.
Gruyère. It's a canton, like a region in Switzerland. Gruyère, like the same name as the cheese.
The cheese. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Gruyère Fly.
Okay.
It's nice also. But you also can start with 1 day or 2 day races. That it's good also. There is one race at the end of October called Millet Cup. I don't know if you have heard about it.
No.
Millet, Millets. It's also in the region of Fribourg, and it's 1 day race. It's a different concept. You have 3 mountains that you have to reach by walking, and then you fly down, making some exercise like touch and go, slalom, and stuff like that. So it's not based on the cross country, but it's based on how fast you are to climb and your skills for landing. So it's very interesting to start with that also. But quite demanding. It's Kriegel to win make more than 5,000 meters climb, starting at 8 and finishing at 4 p.m.
Ooh.
So it's a long race, very tough physically.
Yeah, that's a big day. We had a couple of those
it's
in
really
the X-Alps, but 5,000
accessible.
meters.
It's accessible. It's at a period of the year where there is not a lot of thermals. So you climb up and you fly down using your landing skills, and that's good. That's a nice one also.
A lot of people are, when they start flying and they start flying in the mountains, are quite intimidated by your neck of the woods, because it's really the big terrain, and your Zermatt and Fiche, and you're talking the Grand Combane, you're talking some of the biggest mountains in the Alps. What would you tell pilots that are new to your area? What are some of the things that they need to know to come fly in the Wallis?
I would say exactly what I say to our students when they have finished their license. If you fly between June and August, fly in the morning and land before 1 p.m. So you will be able to fly all the east face with nice thermal, nice condition, but not too strong. In the afternoon, it can be very strong and very difficult to land in those high mountains. And if you go down to the valley, the Rhone Valley, you quite often have like 40 km per hour wind valley. So better to fly in the morning when you are not used to it, and then go for long flight. Like in Fiche, for example, you should not start flying in Fiche for, I say, all the day. You can fly in the morning, going up the Rhone Valley and down, but land quite early. That would be what I recommend. But then it depends on your skills. If you have 2,000 flights, okay, the Alps are like all other mountains, not.
Sure.
They're okay.
Sure.
But if you are a new pilot, thermal can be so very strong, and wind valley can be strong, so sometimes difficult to manage. And because we have high valleys, it's difficult to understand where the wind is going from one to the other, and it can be tricky. So fly on the east side in the morning to learn slowly.
You're an instructor then as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is paragliding now your job?
Not 100%. I have another job. We are 3 associates in Twister. Antoine is the founder, Antoine Lambert. He founded the school in 1998. And with Yves Gavoldi and myself, we joined Antoine 10 years ago, and we are each a third. Yeah, we bought a third of the company, each of us. But I'm not living. I am working, let's say, 20% for Twister as an instructor. I spend quite a lot of time for the Vercofly, but I have another job.
I was going to say, how much time does it take? Do you have to put into Vercofly, after the race ends and before the next race starts? So in that year,
a lot at the beginning, but we never count that, because if we count that, we stop doing it. I would say we start the process of changing the rules and everything. We think about it just before Christmas. It takes us let's say 10, 20 hours of thinking. Then we send the registration, where we send the mail and newsletter to have pilot registering. That's not too much. We have to find a sponsor. So it's a little bit diluted during 6 months, and then it takes. We are more than one, but it's a two full-time person for 3 weeks, let's say.
back to the instruction, is Twister a school that teaches people that have never flown before, or is it more focused on more advanced pilots or everything?
No. We start with a new pilot from zero. Then really our core business is to train pilots to pass the Swiss license. So we start with people that never flew before. Normally we start with a 3-day courses where people that never flew before will go to their first flight, and then they decide if they want to keep flying and make all the training. But we work mainly with brand new paragliders.
What are the 3 things maybe that you see as instructors that cause the most problems that you would like to change? What are the 3 things that newer pilots tend to screw up, the most common?
Difficult. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say something. When you are in the school, normally it's not the time where it is dangerous.
Sure.
There are not a lot of accidents because you are with instructor that decide for you if the weather is okay, if it's okay for your skill and so on. Then the year after you have the license, it's also okay because you still are really not afraid, but
respectful.
Respectful, exactly that word. It's after that the problem starts. It's when you think that you have understand everything and that you can push a little bit more. So what I would like to change is make people understand that they can stay with a big glider for 5 years and learn a lot, do a lot of things with that, and not jump too much toward the sea or even the D gliders, because those big gliders are very good. You can do a lot of things with them, and they are safer. So maybe not pushing the pilots to buy too early other more demanding gliders. The other thing is, I would say fly as much as you can. Never stop flying. If you cannot progress and be safe if you fly every 3 months. Try to fly every week.
Year round.
Year round. Yeah. And all the seasons are good. Paragliding is just great because all the seasons are good. It's not only spring and summer. Winter is good. You can practice with skis. There's a lot of things to do. So fly all the year long as regularly as you can.
That's great advice.
And we have some discussion with other instructors and the Swiss Federation around the accident, because it's your question basically, how to reduce accident. No, it's difficult as we talked before. It's very difficult to know exactly our own skills and not to go a step too far and take risks. So for me, if you practice a lot and you go slowly, you minimize the risk, even if the risk is always there. But I cannot give you 3 advice like this. Go quiet when you change a wing, and the rest are common sense. Don't fly if you have doubt. If something is telling you that it's not good today, don't fly. You don't care about what the other do. Try to fly with other friends that have the same level and share with them your experience. Flying alone, sometimes it's more difficult to progress and to fly safe.
I'm working on this book of the kind of highlights of the podcast, kind of, listening back through them and pulling out all the really best advice and information from all the people we've spoken to over the last bunch of years on the show. And Tom Dodorlado said exactly that. If there is doubt, there is no doubt. And I really like that, because there's I think for all of us, if we can listen to that inner voice, it's pretty clear. You just have to learn to listen. You have to learn not to ignore it. And, there are days that, for whatever reason, that voice is pretty loud. And if you listen to it, it's a good day to go swimming.
Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, because it's really what happened to me after nearly 20 years, I was going to fly and something was telling me, it's not a good day. And I was with a friend. I told him, I'm not really willing today to make a long flight. I don't know if I should come. And I went flying anyway, because I was with him, and I had a crash, and that's only big crash. And something told me that it was not the day. I was tired. I should have done something else. And
what could we, if you're comfortable with it, what happened? What was how did you crash?
I was flying in the morning. It was in May. In the morning, not really bad condition. It was okay. And as you know, in the morning, you fly quite close to the ground to fly as fast as possible, because we wanted to make finally a long flight. And I was flying close to the cliff, and I got I think a big turbulence from a thermal. I don't know exactly, because it was in the morning. Normally it's okay in this region, and I had a big front collapse. And not able to fly again soon enough, because I was too low, and I just crashed in the mountain. And I had to call the helicopter, and it was quite bad. So that happened. Even if you fly, I fly nearly every day, and that shit can happen. But that day, if I had just heard to what something was telling me, I should have I should have done something else.
It sounds like the lesson there is obvious, to listen to that inner voice. But did your style of flying, or your approach to flying after the accident change?
Yes, I think I put even more margin. We can say that.
Yeah.
Margin. I've tried to fly less close to the rock.
Yeah.
Also, when the weather conditions are not good, it's more easier for me to say no. I go bicycle or do something else, and that's what has changed. Yeah. And I think it's finally it's good, because paragliding is really addicting. We can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sometimes difficult to say, okay, no, today, okay, the weather is good. It's difficult to do something else, and now I'm able to do something else easier. I'm not say all the time, but easier.
How have you found it hard to balance instructing and being part of a paragliding school and your own passion for XC? It's something I've always avoided for myself, is making paragliding a job. I mean, in a sense, it is a job, because I do the X Alps and all this stuff and films and that kind of thing. So it is a job, but I've never toyed with that aspect of it, even though I love teaching. But I've just, because I've been afraid. It's like the tandem thing. I've always been afraid of becoming a tandem pilot, because I don't want it to detract from my passion for flying.
I can understand, but I have a really easy situation. I have another job for living, and in Twister, I'm making what I like: organizing competition, doing tandem when I want, teaching when I want. So it's not my daily job. So I'm really doing that really as a passion, and I would never be able to do tandem every weekend, every day of the. I don't want to do that. It's not for me, and I know that. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm free Saturday for flying. If you need me at the school, if you need me, I come. If not, I do something else. I go flying for myself. But I choose, let's say, to work for the school less than 1 day per week. I would say 2 days per month. The rest of the time, I'm flying for myself.
Got it. That's a great way to balance it, where you don't really need it as fun. Yeah.
And for that, for me, it's a real pleasure. I love teaching. I love making a slope training, on ground handling with new paragliders. I still love it because it's really fun to see the guys trying to fly and everything, and that's still a big pleasure for me. But if I had to do that every week, it would not be a pleasure anymore. So when I do it, I do really with fun. Like the first flight, having a guy and training him to the first flight and bringing him to the takeoff and say, okay, now you can fly. And that's really I love. But I don't do that every day. I do that like once a month.
Laurent, I know you have to catch a bus, and we've had this amazing talk, so we'll end it there. But I have one question that we may or may not throw into the actual show, just because I know you're such a fan of hike and fly and racing, and you've done the Vercofly now 11 years. I'm sure, like a lot of people, you watch the X Alps. I asked this question of Kriegel when we did these kind of follow up right after the race questions, and I thought his answer was quite interesting. So I'll ask you, how could we make the X Alps better?
For me, what would come to my mind now is because I've done quite a lot of hike and fly races. I organize, I participate to others. And what I'm discovering now for the last 3 to 4 years is vol bivouac. So to be alone and able to manage yourself alone. You take the food, you take the cooking, the tent, and so on. And the next step for me after hike and fly is to make the same as X-Alp, but with less, again, with no assistant, to be able to find a way that people are by their own to cross the Alps. Yeah. I know it's very difficult because how to be sure that the guy will not have someone bringing foods at this place or that place. But for me, it would be more an adventure to be with less help. But yeah, it's what come to my mind now when you ask me. I really did not think about it, if it's feasible, if it's okay, if it's interesting for the fans. I'm just telling you what now I like. It's walking and be autonomous. Autonomous.
Yeah. I love that you're doing that with the Vercofly. A very good friend of mine, Hansa Rishmanek, who represented the U.S. in 5 Red Bull X Alps races. That's what he always said. He always said, I wish we could just do it as the no bull X Alps. And by no bull, he meant just alone, just on your own and self-supported. That would be pretty
actually
interesting.
There is a race like that exists, that is not well known. I participated this year in March. It's called the Xberg Challenge.
Yeah, in South Africa.
Organized by Pierre Carter. It's a 4-day race, and you can have supporters, but you can do it without. And they just put some food in 4 different places on the race, and it's up to you to go there and catch the food that you prepared. But for the rest of your time, you are alone in the mountain. If you take a tent, you take a tent. If you want to sleep outside just in your glider, you sleep outside in your glider. And I really like the spirit of that race. And it's something I like. I don't know if it's feasible for a race like Red Bull, but I like the concept.
Great talk, Laurent. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best with everything you're up to, flying and racing and the Vercofly, and I really hope to participate next year. I was incredibly inspired by that film, and those of you listening will have the link up to these films and to the Vercofly website in the show notes. I highly recommend you go watch it. That's amazing. So, Laurent, congratulations, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Gavin. And sorry for my English, maybe sometimes difficult to follow, but I do what I can.
Your English is great. It's fantastic. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
If you find the Cloud-Based Mayhem valuable, you can support it in a lot of different ways. You can give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or however you get your podcast. That goes a long ways and helps spread the word. You can blog about it on your own website or share it on social media. You can talk about it on the way up to launch with your pilot friends. I know a lot of interesting conversations have happened that way. And of course, you can support us financially. This show does take a lot of time, a lot of editing, a lot of storage and music and all kinds of behind the scenes cost. So if you can support us financially, all we've ever asked for is $1 a show. And you can do that through a one-time donation through PayPal, or you can set up a subscription service that charges you for each show that comes out. We put a new show out every 2 weeks. So, for example, if you did $1 a show and every 2 weeks, it'd be about $25 a year. So way cheaper than a magazine subscription, and it makes all of this possible. I do not want to fund this show with advertising or sponsors. We get asked about that pretty frequently, but for a whole bunch of different reasons, which I've said many times on the show, I don't want to do that. I don't like having that stuff at the front of the show. And I also want you to know that these are authentic conversations with real people, and these are just our opinions, but our opinions are not being skewed by sponsors or advertising dollars. I think that's a pretty toxic business model. So I hope you dig that. You can support us. If you go to cloudbasedmayhem.com, you can find the places to support. You can do it through patreon.com/cloudbasedmayhem. If you want a recurring subscription, you can also do that directly through the website. We've tried to make it really easy, and that will give you access to all the bonus material, little video casts that we do and extra little nuggets that we find in conversations that don't make it into the main show, but we feel like you should hear. We don't put any of that behind a paywall. If you can't afford to support us, then just let me know and I'll set you up with an account. Of course, that'll be lifetime, and hopefully you're being in a position someday to be able to support us. But you'll find all that on the website. All of you who have supported us or even joined our newsletter or bought Cloud-Based Mayhem merchandise, t-shirts or hats or anything, you should be all set up. You should have an account, and you should be able to access all that bonus material now. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you.